Hello, ladies. Welcome, welcome. Wanting to make sure that I am live. I really wanted to make sure that I am in the right place. Technology is wonderful, but then for some reason, sometimes it just takes a minute to kind of catch up. And I'm kind of wondering if Facebook changed some things because I feel like it's been a little bit funny lately. So give me just 1 second to catch up with myself here. It says that I'm live. So, you know what? We are just going to go with it and hope that that's true. So, welcome in. For those of you that are joining me live, I am so excited that you're able to join me here. For those of you that are catching me on the replay, happy that you caught this in one fashion or another. I know with holidays coming up, ooh, life is getting crazy, isn't it, ladies? So, welcome again to those of you that are here live. What I'm going to switch up this week is drop in the chat for me what your favorite holiday food is. I would love to know. I'm actually making the menu for our Thanksgiving, so could really use some new ideas too if anybody has any. So, thanks so much for being here. If you are new to Jennifer Gilliland Nutrition, I am in fact Jennifer Gilliland, and I come in here live every other week to talk about all kinds of things related to menopause. And I'm super excited to be talking about the weight loss accelerator. Now, somebody asked me what that was today, and really, it's a few things. It is a new perspective on nutrition in general when it comes to menopause. And it's also a way to sort of collectively think about all the things that we want to be paying attention to when weight loss is something that we're looking to achieve during the menopause stage. And before you say weight loss is impossible, I promise you it's not. Promise you. I have people that are getting great results already. I've worked with women for a very long time to get to this point. So I know it is possible. I know it's possible for you, which is why I want to share this amazing information with you. So if you are here live, again, your favorite holiday food, whatever the holiday is that you're celebrating, your favorite food, I would love to know. And hashtag live, hashtag replay, depending on how you're joining me. So who is this for? Who is this talk for? So I actually had a conversation with somebody today, and they were talking about like, is the only thing that you talk about weight loss and menopause? And absolutely it's not. Weight loss is one of the things that we talk about when it comes to nutrition. What I find though is that a lot of us are struggling um, with the weight in menopause. And so that is why I like to come in here and talk about these things. Give me 1 second. I am going to check and see. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you guys are seeing me because I still don't see it in my feed, but I'm not going to let that distract me. I'm going to move on from here. Hi, Joyce. Thanks so much for joining me. Okay, so I have worked with lots and lots of women. Weight loss is one of the things that people like to work on, but there's all kinds of things when it comes to nutrition, right? As we all know, there's lots of pieces and parts when it comes to how do I nourish my body? How do I show up for myself in menopause? What does weight loss even mean? What does that look like for me? How do I achieve that? So there's lots of things that we're gonna touch on this evening. But I hear why I keep using that term weight loss and kind of weight management and unlocking your weight loss potential and those kinds of things is because I hear from a lot of people, a lot of you, about feeling tired when it comes to menopause, and some of that might be related to extra weight and carrying weight a little bit differently and that kind of a thing. I also hear a lot of you saying that you aren't really comfortable in your own bodies, in your own skin. And so, not that weight loss has to happen in order for that to be achieved, because certainly confidence is from a lot of different areas in our lives. And I think we do need to be comfortable on the inside with our own own body shape and size. And so we have to kind of work through what that looks like. What are we aiming to achieve with that? A lot of people hear that you're in menopause, so you're just going to have to deal with it. And if I can wipe anything out of your vocabulary and anything out of your conversation with your providers, is that is just not true. That we don't have to settle, that we don't have to just accept what we have going on right now, but for a bigger reason than just the number on the scale, right? If we're only concentrating on that number, then we're not really going to be driven forward to get the results that we ultimately, I feel, deserve to have, and what will make us that more confident, happier, healthier person. If the scale isn't budging, I would put down a lot of money that we can still achieve health and happiness without the scale budging. It doesn't necessarily happen at the same time. And the more we say the only way we're going to be happy is if that scale number moves, the harder it's going to be for us to find happiness. Now, please don't hear me say, because I've also had women say to me, I told my doctor that I want to lose weight and they've told me it's impossible. And they told me that I just shouldn't worry about it because I'm getting to an age where it shouldn't matter. I'm not saying either of those things. What I'm saying is it's absolutely possible. And you have to decide for yourself what kind of changes you're willing to make and what does that weight loss mean? Because again, if it's just the number on the scale, that to me isn't enough. We have to dig a little bit deeper. What does it actually represent to you? How do we get you feeling the way that you want to feel? And maybe weight loss does happen, but there's other things that we need to really pay attention to. So we're going to dig into some of that. So, and of course, if you've been in one of these lives before, you know I always have a little special something for you at the end. So I have a Jumpstart Your Weight Loss and Menopause roadmap for you that I'd be happy to share. We'll talk about that at the end. And I would love to kind of get you that guide to start as we go into these holidays, where a lot of people feel kind of almost paralyzed with, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to gain weight, or I know I'm going to feel crappy, or I know that I'm going to get really off track. This guide will help you kind of stay on track, right? Whatever that looks like for you. So why do I know that it's going to be different for you this holiday season? I am going to put it out there that this holiday season is going to be different for everyone that is here, because you are going to look at it differently than what you looked at it as last year and the year before and that kind of a thing. Because nutrition is way more than calories. And when we only look at calories, then we're only going to be focused on that number and not the oh my goodness, so many other things that can help us to achieve better nutrition, help us to achieve that healthier body, help us to just feel better in our own skin. So Joyce says that she eats baked turkey, mashed potatoes with gravy, green beans, sweet corn, stuffing, dinner roll, cranberry sauce, pumpkin and Dutch apple pie. That sounds delicious, Joyce. I am super excited. That would be amazing. I hope you enjoy every bit of that. And that sounds very similar to many Thanksgiving tables probably across the country. So that's awesome. So let's dig in a little bit to what I want to kind of go over tonight. So drop a yes in the chat for me if you are just over calorie counting. I've been talking to a lot of women lately about how to get success when it comes to feeling better and healthier in menopause. And what I kind of like to drive home is that learning how to count calories better is not going to help you get the results that you're looking for. Why is that? Because counting calories doesn't take into consideration the foods that give us energy, foods that make our bodies feel the best, foods that actually help us to either ramp up for a workout better or decrease our energy for sleep, depending on what time of the day it is. Counting calories are energy. That's all they are. So we don't want to just focus on that as a way of achieving weight loss, because it doesn't always add up, right? How else are we showing up for ourselves? What else are we doing? So we want to be really careful of just counting those calories. And I actually saw a post today by somebody that said, all you need to do is a calorie deficit. And I'm like, oh, I really wish we could have a different conversation. So we're going to have a different conversation about that, because if the only thing, you guys can count calories all day long. And how many of you have spent a lot of time counting calories and you're not getting the results that you want? The reason is because you're looking at one little piece to the puzzle, and there's 99 other things that we want to pay attention to that in my mind are even more important than those calories. So when we think about what is the point, why did we even start calorie counting, right? Because a lot of us have done that. We've done the shakes, we've done the, Weight Watchers, we've done keto, we've done all kinds of things to get to where we are now. And so, but we had different reasons, I feel like. similar, but sometimes it's different reasons, right? When we were younger, I feel like it was more of an outward, like we wanted to make sure that we could wear the fashion trends. We wanted to make sure that we sort of fit in. We kind of wanted to make sure that we fit in with our friends, and maybe we're, dating and doing some different things like that. I'm not saying that those things aren't important now. They certainly can be, or are for some of you, and that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we're in menopause, when we're in this after 40 kind of midlife time of our lives, I feel like we up the ante a little bit, right? Because now our bodies are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. We've gotten a little traction on our bodies. We've put a little mileage on, right? And so we have used our bodies all of those times, right? All of those years. So we have a little bit of longevity in the game. And so we're looking at things like blood pressure. We're looking at things like circulation. So circulation basically is all of the things that you go and you talk to your doctor about. What are my blood sugars doing? What's my cholesterol? How high is my risk of heart disease, stroke, heart attack, those kinds of things? What's my thyroid doing? Why am I having bloat? What's going on with my digestion? All of those are related to circulation. And if our circulation isn't healthy, if we're not going to be, having good blood flow, good oxygen running through our system, that's part of the reason that maybe we're going to be more fatigued, because we're asking our body to work harder to have that blood flow, right? So we want to think about, yes, all of those things that we talk about, the clothes, the confidence, those kinds of things, those are absolutely important. But we also want to think about, what's the quality of life that we want to have? Where are we going? Because to be honest, that picture of being able to be 90 and not walk with a cane is a driver for me. I know that for me personally, and it is a driver for some of you too, because we've had that conversation. It's also a driver of, I don't want to take medication. I don't want to take prescription medication. I'm 53. I don't take anything. I don't want to be reliant on other people taking care of me. I don't want to be sitting on the sidelines when it comes to, like, watching grandkids do things, or nieces, nephews, those little people in our lives. I want to be engaged in what's going on, right? So that's my own personal kind of thought about what I want to be able to do in the future. Drop in the comments if there's something that, does any of that resonate with you? Does that make sense? Is there something that I'm missing? Something kind of that you see big picture that you're aiming for? Why is the weight loss even important? What's the dream? What do you envision happening when that happens, or as you're going along in this journey? So it also goes back to some of the symptoms that are associated with this time of our lives, right? Hot flashes, low energy, not sleeping, feeling moody, feeling that, angry one minute, sad the next, sitting on the couch, not having any motivation. All of those things can be related to our nutrition. How are we building that foundation of our nutrition? What are we doing in order to do that? And if we're only counting calories, that's energy, okay, but are we energizing our body? Are we giving our body the fuel that we need at the appropriate time, in the appropriate way? And if the only thing we're doing is counting those calories, we're really just, keeping the billion-dollar diet industry going, right? And I actually had a conversation with somebody today, and we were talking about, she was very nice, and she very kindly said, I don't want to work with you forever. And I said, "Oh, great, that's awesome." And the reason is, why do you have to be a Weight Watchers member for life? Like, what is that about? That you have to be tied to that forever, right? I really want people to feel very confident in what they're doing. And so I encourage clients to go out and live their lives the way that they want to, once they have the tools that they can go out there and practice with, right? And then if we need to do some kind of fine tuning down the road, awesome. But my goal is for nutrition to be easy, for you to get the success and the achieve what you're looking to achieve, so that you can go and live your life. Because after all, what's the point what's the point of the quality of life if we're not out there living life, right? So really, really key to kind of this whole conversation. To be able to climb the stairs without having to do it one step at a time, one dominant leg at a time, that is a goal I want to have well into my later years. Yes, I love that. Love that so much, because that's functional, right? that is really functional, really a part of our day to day. So when people talk about functional nutrition or functional medicine, I think of, what does that mean? Right. And so it means being able to do the things during the day that you want to do without pain and without limitation. And yes, maybe we get a little bit more tired. Maybe we have to sleep a little bit longer. There's accommodations that we have to make, just because, again, we've used our bodies for a while. And so at some point our body's like, listen, I need a little break. Nothing wrong with that. But we want to make sure that the majority of the time that we're allowing ourselves that rest and that recovery, but then we're able to go back out there and do what we want to do. To be able to actively participate in activities and things I want to do post 60, yes, 100%. It's funny, because at 53, I used to think 50 was old. I used to think 40 was old. And now I'm like, you know, 80s, 80, 90, like you're as old as you feel, right? And so I do believe that age is a number, and we have to stop looking at it as, once I get to this point, I won't be able to do this thing. I think we can totally put the kibosh on that. And I think it's time to really take that back and take our health back. So as I said earlier, I am Jennifer Gilliland. I am the menopause dietitian. I've been doing this for quite a while, but I too am in that menopause stage of things, right? So I'm in perimenopause. I've been here for a little bit. It kind of felt like I was in the going toward closer to that actual menopause, that 12 months where I wasn't going to have a period, and then lo and behold, that happened again. So kind of reset the clock. So we'll see how long this takes, but I want you to do me a favor and drop any kind of emoji, whatever kind of emoji you like, in the chat if you are really just sick and tired of feeling like there are so many supplements, so many shakes, so many diets out there that people are kind of throwing out there that say this is the thing you have to do if you're in menopause and you want to lose weight. And I'll tell you, I myself am sick of that. I myself will look at those ads and be like, oh yeah, there's way more that we want to take a look at than just that. And even things like the weight loss medications and the prescriptions and things like that. I am not going to make a blanket statement about anything that says that there's absolutely no reason for any of it at any time. That is not my call. That is certainly a call, a conversation that you need to have with your doctor. You need to decide what's best for you and your health. But I want to give you the other side of that says there is no quick fix or fix out there that doesn't involve lifestyle changes. There's no way to achieve the health, the vitality, what we just talked about as far as being able to have less joint pain and be able to get up the stairs without feeling like you're going up there kind of that 1 foot at a time, being able to, be active with kids and grandkids and nieces, nephews, that kind of thing. We're not going to be able to do that if the only thing we're doing is that one piece, right? So if you do take a supplement that helps you, fantastic. If you are taking a medication that you feel like you need, fantastic. But please know that you still have to be able to do the other piece. And I think that's where people start to get really resentful and really angry, because you promised a quick fix and now I have to put the steps in too. But ladies, remember, we are human beings having a human experience. Our bodies are designed to move. Our bodies are designed to have energy. We're designed to have all of these different wonderful foods. Like Joyce said before, that whole buffet of foods, we're designed to take that in because different nutrition comes from different foods. We have to go back to some of those basics when it comes to the weight loss. We have to really understand that nourishment of our bodies and not just throwing calories out there. So yes, Lori, I know your team, no quick fix. That's amazing. And I love that you're out there talking about these things too, and really living it, that you're doing a lot of things yourself that, keeps the activity going, and you have a really positive attitude as well. So thanks so much for saying that. So really, really want to focus on this picture right here with, success for everyone is different. Sometimes, very, very very infrequently. We go from point A to point B without anything in between, right? I would say that probably never happens actually. And I don't really like to say never, but that probably never happens. What it actually looks like is sort of that squiggly line, right? So we go forward a little bit, we come back, we might go sideways. We might, get that squirrel moment where we're like, what was I doing? Why am I here? I mean, how many of you have gone to the top of the stairs and you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do right now. Then you go back downstairs, you come back up and you're, hopefully remember at that point. So it really does. Success is different for everyone. And that doesn't mean that you aren't getting success just because your neighbor is getting different success. It just means it's not your path to follow. And we have to find what is that path, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about a client who was the Weight Watchers keto, calorie restriction, Mediterranean diet, pretty much like the flavor of the day type of a meal plan kind of girl. And then she'd get really frustrated because she'd be following this and it'd be so structured and she'd be on point, and then she would eat one thing that she labeled bad food. And if you know me, I don't do good and bad food, but she would label it bad food, and then she would kind of just tumble down from there, right? She's like, well, I just ate that, so I might as well just forget about it. So she was feeling very frustrated and very irritated, and had a lot of the same questions when I'm talking to people that are thinking about working with me and thinking about kind of making a plan for themselves. Is this actually going to work? I've tried 14 other things and nothing's worked yet. I see all these people getting success. I've tried those same things. That hasn't worked for me. It's too expensive. It takes too much time. I don't have the energy for it. There's all these reasons that we have about why some of these things might not work for us. And she was doing that. Mary was doing that over and over and over again. And so unfortunately, that can take several years. And what I find is a lot of the women that I talk to in this sort of midlife stage, we've tried all of those things and we've spent years and years and years of time and effort and money on those things. And now you're hearing me say things like, it is possible. You can lose weight in menopause. It is doable. And you're like, I don't know if I believe you. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you because you've seen other people struggle with that. But the difference between what you've experienced before and what you've maybe thought about before is that calorie counting versus really nourishing your body with what you need. So how many of you, put a 1 in the chat if you have counted calories with no results, or you've kept track of everything in MyFitnessPal, still no results, or if you've stopped eating after 7, 6:30, 6 o'clock, whatever, and you still can't lose the weight. You've done all the things that you thought were the things to do. You followed all the rules that you thought were the rules that you needed to follow, and you're still not seeing the results. And the reason for that, in my mind, is that if you put 100 women in a room and you ask them all to do the same exact thing, which is what diets do, which is what calorie counting typically does, you're going to get some people that have some results with that. You're going to get some other people that get 0 results, and you're going to get some people that actually gain weight. So we have to make sure that we're taking your individual body and your individual metabolism and your health information and all that, and we're turning that into a plan that's for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take that and utilize that with your family for meal planning, for example. I had that question come up. If you're planning meals for me, or you're helping me, figure out meal planning for myself, is that going to be something that my family can do? Absolutely, because they can adjust that based on what works for them, right? And so we can talk about what that looks like as kind of a family structure, and how do we cook for the family as opposed to just for yourself and then having to do, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So it's about learning to nourish your body again, learning about the emotional side of eating, learning about how do I kind of lower that anxiety and that stress and still eat nourishing foods. Because I don't know about you, but most of the time when people are feeling stress or emotion about something, they're not reaching for carrots. They're more thinking about the ice cream or the cookies, right? And so we want to think about, what do I do with that anxiety and that depression, that overwhelm, that chaos that I feel? What do I do with that? And one of the things that I really stress, because as a therapist and a dietitian, I bring those two worlds together, the physical and the emotional. It's very important that we're prioritizing our emotional health, just like we're prioritizing our physical health. Some people think of emotional health as mental health, and I would say that yes, there's some crossover there, But I also feel like it's got to be a conversation of what does that look like for you? Because there's a lot of information out there about emotional health or I'm sorry, about mental health that is misinformation. And so we have to really dig into what does that look like for you? What does that mean for you? And how do you show up as yourself in the way that you want to show up? And that may show up right now for you as emotional eating. It may be some binge eating. It may be hiding foods and eating them when nobody's around. It may be eating something super fast so that you don't have to really show up as a person who is eating those foods. Okay, so there's this new thing that Facebook does when you do a thumb like this, it like shows up on the screen. That is the craziest thing. So I think you guys can see that too. It is so distracting when I'm talking because I don't know, it's just funny to me. Sorry, total squirrel moment. See, I do it too. Um, we also want to learn how to prioritize our own health and better sleep and our time, right? I struggle with this. I'll be 100% honest with you. I struggle with going to bed at a reasonable time because I have so many things I want to do. I have so much information I want to share with you guys and so many different projects I'm working on and so many different ways I want to, welcome you into my world so that I can help you get the results that you're looking for. And so I'm a lot of times really struggling to get in bed at a decent time. My husband is really, really working on helping me to kind of turn the computer off and do those things. So always helps to have somebody there to, basically shut your computer down for you. Um, Anyways, so let's talk about guilt and shame and how that relates to calories. And maybe one of the things that kind of gets in the way when you're really wanting to move forward with this weight loss and menopause. So, how many of you have said, I'm so lazy, I have no willpower, I'm so fat, I'm so overweight, I'm never going to be able to do this, I'm such a failure? All of those things that go on in our head, right? That tell us over and over again about why we can't do something, when in reality, we are in our own heads saying those things to ourselves. There's probably not somebody else that's saying that to us. And I would almost venture to guess, I would put a lot of money on that too, that you would not say some of the things to your best friend that you say to yourself. So I really want you to start paying attention to that. How many times are you telling yourself that you aren't able to do something? And how is that holding you back from getting the results that you want when it comes to weight loss? So I have a client who was doing that. She was basically just beating herself up before her feet even hit the floor. She was really just, talking about how dreadful the day was going to be, how much she was going to overeat that day, how much weight she was going to gain, how incredibly unattractive she was. And her eyes weren't even really open yet. Her feet hadn't hit the floor. So imagine going through the entire day. Think back to your day today or the day before. If you are finding yourself in that position where you are telling yourself all of these things and then really struggling with finding the positive, right? So people say, "Oh, just think positive and you're going to be great and the weight's going to fall off and all those kinds of things." And you're thinking, "I just feel stupid, fat and lazy. Like how am I supposed to do that?" And so that's the piece. That's where it's really important to, and that's how I help people a lot is being that outside observer of how are we showing up for ourselves, or are we showing up for ourselves in order to be able to get the results that we're looking for. I equate it to picking up a baseball bat and hitting ourselves over the head with it. I know that's kind of drastic, but really, ladies, when you're telling yourself all of those negative things, it just makes us smaller and smaller and smaller, and it hurts. It not only hurts us physically because we can have some panic attack symptoms that happen to that. Maybe our heart races, maybe we get sweaty, maybe we get a headache. So when we talk about hot flashes, that can induce some hot flashes. Maybe we have some stomach upset, some diarrhea that happens from that because we're so anxious and kind of overwhelmed. So all of those things can definitely happen. And it hurts us emotionally because picture yourself as a child standing next to your adult self and you're pointing your finger saying, "You're so fat, you're so ugly, you're disgusting." Imagine that emotional toll that would take on the younger version of yourself. It's exactly how we're showing up for ourselves when we're doing that. So if that hits home with you, I really want you to start thinking about how are you talking to yourself? How are you showing up? And I encourage you with all the love in my heart to take that baseball bat and put it down and really start to think about, how can I love myself in a much more complete way? And how can I choose foods that are going to then satisfy the nourished part of me, what I need to do as far as nourishing my body, instead of just, pushing aside the guilt and pushing aside the shame, and really showing up in a much healthier way for yourself, so that you can overall feel that much better. So we want to really talk about that as well when it comes to the calorie counting, because as you can see, just because you count the calories better doesn't mean that we're feeling any differently emotionally or mentally. So it's really key that we're looking at both of those things. If you think about how we show up on the inside, that's the emotional part. And if we're feeling all sorts of things on the inside, and we're not taking care of that, we're not comforting that, we're not kind of dealing with that, working through that, the outside is always going to stay the same, right? Because we're covering up that emotion. We're not really taking care of it, or leaning into it and understanding it in a much better way, giving ourselves permission to feel what it is that we're feeling, and then being able to work through that and talk through that is super important. So I hope that makes sense. So as you've heard me say several times, you're in menopause, so you're just going to have to deal with it. I've heard this from so many women. It is so frustrating. And I really, again, want to kind of eradicate that from the vocabulary. But that's really the reason that I designed the Menopause Breakthrough Method. And you guys, I'm going to share a little secret with you. I have so many masterclass ideas and so many program ideas for 2024. It's unreal, because I know that there are lots of you struggling and dare I say suffering with some of these symptoms of menopause, and you need somebody who understands where you're at and where you want to go. And so I'm really developing some different ways to help you get the results that you're looking for. My Menopause Breakthrough Method is my group program where we really dig into and dive into a lot of those pieces and parts to put all of that together for a plan that works best for you. And the reason that I did that is because I want us to take back our health in midlife. Again, so many people are struggling and feel like this is it, when we're just sort of waiting for the inevitable, right? But actually, there's so much life to live, and there's so much wisdom and so much amazingness that is within each of you, that I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to share that with those that you care about. So that's really the kind of driver behind all of this new programming that's coming out next year. Which, can you believe it's November and next year is like a month and a half away? That's crazy. It's crazy, crazy. So another point to that, another part of that is my kind of pillars that I talk about when it comes to the Menopause Breakthrough Method. So I talk about easy nutrition, the physical health, and the emotional health. A lot of other programs really talk about the rules and the regulations and those kinds of things. And you know what, ladies, I'm 53. I don't really dig all these rules. I want to do my own thing, and I want it to work for me. And so I want this to work for you as well. And really get away from sort of that diet thinking and that diet mentality. So, who is ready for 3 tips for getting started right now? So, Thanksgiving, for those of you that are in the United States, is next week. So 3 tips that you can put to use right now today. You can certainly use these through next week. Drop a 3 in the chat for me if you are wanting to hear about these. I'm going to go ahead and get started with them. But the first one is really about being honest with where you are. So if you are the kind of person who is not really in tune with where your emotions are at, or it's a little scary to think about where your emotions are at, I want you to really just sit and think about that for a minute, and really decide, are you a 1, 2, or 3? If you're a 2 or a 3, I really believe that there needs to be more of a conversation. If you're a 1, good for you. You are doing awesome with your stress. A 2 or a 3, that doesn't mean that you can't do great with your stress. It probably just means we need to spend a little bit more time with that. And we need to allow for more of that emotional healing, that more emotional comfort to happen, because that is definitely disrupting metabolism. It changes how we digest food. It changes how we digest and absorb food. It really does slow down our digestion when we're feeling anxious or when we're feeling overwhelmed or depressed. So I would encourage you to really start thinking about that. Some things to do if you are feeling like emotions are a piece that you haven't been paying a lot of attention to. Journaling is really great, meditation, getting out and getting some physical activity in, things that you can do very, very quickly. Everybody's got access to something electronic, whether that's your phone or something else, your computer. And so even just getting on YouTube and searching for a meditation that you can listen to for 5 minutes can really, really change your outlook and how you're kind of showing up. The second thing is really making an attempt, really a kind of an overall look at what are you doing with your nutrition right now. I haven't met anybody yet. There's always an exception to every rule. Haven't met anybody yet that can't tell me one thing that they know needs to change about what they're doing, right? So if there's that thing that's sort of been that nagging feeling that you're like, yeah, I know I need to, kind of decrease how much sugar I'm eating in a day, but I don't really want to. Like, it's fine that you don't want to, but let's get really honest that needs to be something we talk a little bit more about. And so if the sugar cravings are the thing, if you're waiting too long in between meals, if you're not eating enough with your meals. I talked to somebody yesterday and they're like, I don't know why I'm hungry all the time. Ladies, they were literally eating a yogurt for breakfast and a piece of chicken for lunch and then not eating anything else until dinner. I would be hungry too. So are we actually showing up and nourishing ourselves? Are we giving ourselves enough calories through the day to be able to not be hungry? Are we kind of self-sabotaging a little bit? The third thing is reaching out for support. So I have almost 2,000 people in this group. I'm really hoping to get over 2,000 women in the group by the end of the year. I really believe we can do that. So invite all your friends. I would love to have them in the group. But reaching out for support, whether that's through the free Facebook community, whether that's through, another organization that you're a part of, reaching out to a friend, whatever that looks like, getting a hold of me so that we can set you up with an individualized plan. Whatever works for you, please don't feel like you have to be all by yourself. What drives me to keep doing what I'm doing with this business is really thinking about all of the women out there that I know are struggling. I know that are really wanting to get the results with their health that they are looking to get and don't know where to start. So it all starts with reaching out and asking for that help. There's nothing more powerful than saying, I need help, because it shows some vulnerability. It shows that you're ready to change. It shows that you're motivated to the other person, but more importantly to yourself, to your own heart, to your own emotional well-being, so that you know that you're ready to take that next step. So the only thing that I ask, aside from what we've already talked about, is commitment. That you commit to yourself, that you commit to making the change that you know needs to happen. And again, that can be different for everyone, but you have to be willing to commit to your own journey. And whether that needs to be more of that physical journey where we're looking at what kinds of foods are you choosing, or what are your labs doing, or we're looking at more of that emotional journey, we have to commit. And by commit, we have to have a plan. There is no way to just sit down, decide that weight loss is going to happen, and it's just going to happen, right? If it was that easy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be sitting on a beach somewhere. That's what we'd be doing. Or we'd be at Joyce's house having Thanksgiving dinner. So, we'd really want to make sure that we understand that with commitment comes a plan. If you're struggling with coming up with that plan by yourself, then that's what the Menopause Breakthrough Method is for, or working with me one-on-one. Lots of different options there, but we have to have a plan when it comes to wanting to get those results. It is possible. 100% it is possible. So I will leave you with my Jumpstart to Weight Loss and Menopause Roadmap, comment roadmap, if you would like a copy of that. If you are again, new to my world, I have lots of information that I share in the Facebook group. Please take part in that, be active in that, ask questions. I love when people ask questions because a lot of times there's somebody else in the group that has the same question. I'm so excited again for all of you that are able to hang with me till the end tonight. Happy to send you this roadmap, comment roadmap, and I'll be happy to send that over. One thing that I will leave you with is I do have Black Friday specials going on right now. So check that out in the group. They only last for 24 hours when I post them. So the one that's up there now is only going to be good until tomorrow morning. And then I have one that I'm dropping tomorrow and one that I'm dropping on Friday. So check that out. Pay attention to what's going on in the group because it's all for you guys. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. How about Thanksgiving dinner at Joyce's first? Then we can work on the list. Yes, I'm all for it. All for it. We're coming over, Joyce, just so you know. Thanks, ladies.